All right. So we're gonna get started in a child's pose. Knees out wide, big toes come to touch, sinking back into the hips, stretching the arms out in front of us. And starting to tune into the body. Maybe closing the eyes here, noticing how we're feeling. Maybe scanning the body, noticing where we're hanging on to tension. Maybe noticing the breath and the quality of the breath here. On our next inhale through the nose, filling the chest, the belly expands, is pressing against the thighs. And exhaling, letting it all go. Lengthening the breath here. And on our next inhale, we'll go ahead and just start to walk our fingertips over towards the right corner of the mat and then sink back into that left hip here, pressing the chest down, feeling that side stretch on the left side body. And on our next inhale, walking the fingertips through center, over towards the left corner of the mat, sinking back into the right hip, breathing along the right side body. Inhaling, coming back to center, one breath here. And on our next inhale, we'll go ahead and start to shift the weight forward, coming into a tabletop position. And we're gonna move into our cat-cow. So on our inhale, we're dropping the belly, lifting the gaze for cow. And exhaling, rounding out, tucking in the chin for cat. Inhaling for cow. And exhaling for cat, pressing away from the floor. Moving with your own breath at our own pace here. Eventually meeting at a neutral spine. And then from here, we're going to start to go in circles. So kind of sinking the hips back towards the heels, coming all the way around, rocking forward as much as you'd like. You can play with really gripping the mat here with our finger pads and knuckles. Stopping in any spaces that are a little bit stickier in the hips or maybe in the wrists. And then switching directions of our circle. And coming back through center, knees are underneath the hips. We're going to bring the left hand to the middle of the mat and inhale, peeling our right arm open, coming into a little bit of a twist. And exhaling, I call this threading the needle, but that right arm is gonna come through. Right shoulder goes on the mat. Left elbow is bent here. Hips are high. And from here, we can really use the left hand to turn the chest and open up. Maybe the gaze is up towards the sky. Sometimes it helps to cross the left foot over the right foot. Really allows you to turn, have a little bit more of an anchor. Breathe here. Inhaling, Uncrossing the feet if you cross, reaching that right arm back up. And exhaling back to a tabletop position. You can take a cat-cow in between. Really trying to match the breath and our movements here. And then we'll switch sides. So right hand is underneath the face. Inhaling, opening the left arm up. And then exhaling, left arm threads in between, left shoulders on the mat, right elbow bends. You have the same option to cross your right ankle over your left if that feels good. You can press into the right hand to turn the chest open to the right. Uncrossing the legs, inhaling, reaching the left arm back up, and exhaling back to our tabletop position. We're going to go ahead and tuck the toes, lifting the hips, coming into our first downward facing dog, keeping a very generous bend in both knees here. You can always opt for a child's pose instead of a downward facing dog. But if we're here in down dog, we can start to bend and straighten one leg at a time, pedaling out the feet. Starting to warm up the back of the legs. And on our next inhale, the gaze is towards the top of our mat. We'll go ahead and take small steps all the way to the top. Taking our time, being curious in every step of the way. And once we're at the top of the mat, we'll be in a forward fold. Feet are hips distance. A good way to measure that is 2 fists in between the arches of your feet. Still a nice deep bend in the knees for our first forward fold. We can grab opposite elbows and sway side to side for a ragdoll. And switching the grip of our elbows, shaking the head no, nodding the head yes, helping release any tension in the neck. And on our next inhale, we'll come to a halfway lift. So fingertips are on the shins, rolling the shoulders back and down, nice flat spine. Gaze is towards the mat. And exhaling, forward fold. Inhaling, sweeping both arms out and up. And exhaling, really exaggerating, arms out and down, diving down, forward fold. Inhaling for halfway lift. And exhaling, fold. Inhaling, we'll go ahead and step the left foot back, coming into a low lunge, bending into the right knee here. And then planting the hands, right foot steps back, downward facing dog. Inhaling, shifting the weight forward, coming into a high plank or dropping the knees for kneeling plank. And exhaling, elbows at the sides, all the way down onto the belly. Untucking the toes, inhaling, peeling the heart open. For baby cobra, we're squeezing the elbows back behind us. And exhaling, releasing down, meet in downward facing dog or child's pose. Inhaling, the gaze is to the top of the mat. And exhaling, traveling to the top of the mat. You can step, jump, hop. And forward fold. Inhaling for our halfway lift. And exhaling, forward fold. Inhaling, sweeping the arms out and up. And exhaling, diving down, forward fold. Inhaling, halfway lift. And exhaling, fold. Inhaling, right foot steps back this time, low lunge. And exhaling, down dog. Inhaling, shifting the weight forward to high plank or kneeling plank. And exhaling, chaturanga, coming all the way down onto the belly. Inhaling, untucking the toes, opening up the heart for baby cobra. And exhaling, this time we'll press back into a child's pose. Taking 3 full breaths here. And taking our time, no rush. We'll both meet back in our downward facing dog. From our downward facing dog, we'll go ahead and step the right foot forward, placing it in between the hands. If your foot doesn't quite make it, you can use your hands to help. We'll go ahead and drop the back knee, untuck the back toes here. You can keep your fingertips on the mat. You can have your hands up on your knee. You can have hands to heart center, reaching up if you want it to feel a little bit more active. Whatever feels best here, just breathing. We're pulling the right hip back and the left hip forward here to keep the hips nice and squared. And wherever we're at on our next exhale, both hands frame the front foot, tucking the back toes. We'll start to straighten the right leg, right toes flex towards the face. And on our next inhale, bending back in through that right knee, tucking the back toes, lifting the back knee. We're in a low lunge. We're gonna go ahead and spin towards the long edge of our mat, towards the left. Both toes face the long edge of our mat, coming into a straddle forward fold here. Keeping a nice bend in the knees. You can grab opposite elbows if you'd like. We're gonna do one nice side stretch here, and there's like 3 to 4 steps along the way that you can feel free to pause in if you feel the stretch. But we're gonna start by bending into our left knee, right leg stays straight, and we're gonna walk the fingertips over towards the left toes. So planting the hands down, head hangs heavy, sending the weight back into the hips here. Maybe we can start to straighten that left leg. We're still pressing the chest towards the thighs, sending the weight back in the hips, and maybe we can even start to bend through the right knee. Again, sending the weight back, reaching the hands at a diagonal. You should feel that wonderful stretch along the right side body. Sending the breath there. Inhaling, making our way back. Finding any other movements that feel good here. You can bend the knees and kind of do a spinal wave or whatever feels good. That's what yoga is all about. And then walking the hands towards the front of the mat again. We'll meet in a low lunge. And then right foot steps back, downward facing dog, home base. Taking a moment to land here. You can always take an optional chaturanga if you'd like. And we'll go ahead and switch sides. So on our next inhale, left foot steps in between the hands, low lunge. And then from here, back knee comes down, back toes untuck. You can come up onto our finger pads here, chest is forward. Maybe hands are on the left knee. Maybe hands to heart center, reaching up if you want it to be more active. Choose your adventure here. But what we really want to focus on is pulling the left hip back and the right hip forward, so our hips are nice and squared. We're tucking the tailbone as much as we can, and we'll really start to feel that right hip flexor start to stretch. Sending the breath there. And then wherever we're at, hands come back down to frame the front foot. Tuck the back toes, straightening the left leg. Left toes are flexing towards the face here. Breathing. And on the next inhale, bending in through that left knee, tucking the back toes, lifting the back knee, meeting in our low lunge. And then we're meeting at the same spot, this time swiveling over towards the right. Both toes are facing the long edge of our mat. And I will turn around so that you don't have to look at that angle. And we're going to do the same side stretch that we did on the other side. So this time we're going to start to bend the right knee and walk the hands over towards the right toes. Kind of at a diagonal, maybe even past the toes, if you know you're a little bit more bendy. On our next inhale, we'll go ahead and maybe start to straighten the right leg. And maybe we're able to bend the left knee as well, sending the weight back into the hips, breathing along the left side body. Straightening the left leg, coming back towards center. Again, any other movements that feel good. You can do another ragdoll and sway. Bend your knees. And we'll start to walk the hands back towards the front of the mat, low lunge. And step the right foot back into our very last downward facing dog. Just noticing how this down dog feels, noticing how the body feels compared to the very first one. And then from here, we'll go ahead and drop the knees, untuck the toes. We'll come to sit on top of the knees, and just swing the legs over to one side and make our way onto our backs. So on our backs, we will do just 2 bridges. So soles of the feet are close to the hips, arms are at our sides, face palms down. Taking a big, deep inhale and exhaling, pressing into the feet, pressing into the arms, hips lift, squeezing the glutes, pulling the heels towards the face here. You'll feel the hamstrings start to fire. And when we're ready, relaxing the hips down, maybe windshield wiping the knees. Coming back through center, we'll do one more. Inhaling, pressing in through the feet and the hands, hips lift, squeezing the glutes, pulling the heels back towards the chest. And exhaling, releasing down. Inhaling both knees into the chest. We can draw circles with the knees to massage the low back. And switching directions of our circle. Right knee comes into the chest, left leg goes out long. We're going to come into a twist. So right knee comes across the body, Arms come out to a T or goalpost cactus arms. Gaze is over the right shoulder. Inhaling back through center, hugging that right knee in, and then just switching. Left knee comes towards the chest, right leg goes long. On our next exhale, taking the same twist. Left knee comes across the body, arms come out to a T, gaze is over the left shoulder. And slowly coming back through center, hugging that left knee in, and then laying it long, pointing the toes, inhaling the arms up overhead, taking one full body stretch. And then exhaling the arms at our sides, feet come as wide as the mat, allowing the eyes to draw closed here, just for a few moments to close out our practice in Shavasana. Moment of stillness in the body and in the mind. And if you have the time, I encourage you to stay. Otherwise, we can wiggle the toes, the fingers. Inhale, the eyes open. We'll go ahead and slowly roll over to one side, using an arm as a pillow, bending the knees. And from here, we can use the top hand to press ourselves up to a comfortable seat. Just taking the time to thank ourselves for carving this time out of our day and thanking our bodies. Close out practice. The light within me honors the light within you. Namaste.